proud to be a nonpartisan organization that's been empowering voters and defending democracy for over 100 years. We don't support or oppose any candidates or political parties, but we're deeply committed to making sure every voter has access to the information that they need in order to make informed choices. Tonight's forum is part of that commitment. We're grateful to partner with local leaders and community media to bring you direct, respectful conversations with the candidates who seek to represent you. In addition to tonight's discussion, each candidate was invited to respond to some questions that you can find online at vote411.org if you want to read more about their answers. Now I'm honored to introduce tonight's moderator, Brian Scott. Brian Scott is publisher of the City Journals. Brian has been a trusted voice in local media for years, helping communities stay connected and informed, and we're grateful for his time and expertise in guiding tonight's discussions.
Perfect. Thank you, Lori. Good evening, everybody. As she said, my name is Brian Scott. I'm the publisher of the City Journals, and happy to be here moderating tonight. A couple of thank yous out there. We want to thank Chamber West for their support, that all they do for the community, but also helped us with this event. And then the West Jordan City Council for allowing us to use this space. It's not a city event. It's not sponsored by the city and whatnot. And then you've seen the code of conduct. Hopefully everybody got to see that. But just as a quick reminder, we just ask you to be respectful. Ultimately, if we have to get there, I'll just nicely remind you. And then if not, then we'll just take a break. And if it goes beyond that, we may terminate early. And then obviously want to say thank you to the League of Women Voters of Salt Lake for hosting tonight's candidate forum. It's always good to have a nonpartisan group out there that can help us make these decisions and create this conversation. I'll go over the code of conduct one more time, right? Keep campaign signs and materials outside the forum area. Refrain from cheering, jeering, or reacting to individual responses. Hold all applause until the end, and then avoid side conversation. And as Lori said, please silence your cell phones and stuff at this time. Other than that, just the way the night will run is we'll give each candidate 2 minutes to give an opening statement, tell us a little bit about them, why they're running. And then I have 4 questions that have been prepared. And we'll give each of you 2 minutes to respond to those questions each. And then after that, any questions that you guys submitted and put in the basket will somehow magically, through probably someone's work other than mine, end up on my desk, and then we'll read those questions as time allows. And I think we'll have a pretty hard stop at 7:30. I think that's the plan, right? 7:30? Yeah, 7:30. And then we'll give 1 minute. If we have time, we'll give 1 minute to everybody to wrap up and give a closing remark. Speaking order will be random. So they've had, I think, maybe some AI agent choose who starts. And then I'll let you know who starts each question, and then we'll just go to the left thereafter and then back around until we get back to that person. Any questions, candidates? All right, here we go. So the first question, the topic is community trust and transparency. So the question is, West Jordan is growing fast and residents want to feel confident that decisions about development, budgeting, and public services are made openly and fairly. What would you do to increase transparency and rebuild trust in city decisions and decision-making, especially for residents who feel left out of the process? One thing that I forgot to mention, they have marked your microphones with a little pink piece of paper. That is how you will turn your mic on and off. You'll get this red light when you turn on. And this question, we are going to start with Jessica.
I had a feeling you were going to start with me. I don't know why, but oh, I don't have to hold it down. Thanks, Zach. Uh, As far as transparency with growth, I think it's super important to allow residents, and I've talked to actually many of residents about transparency because they are concerned about growth, about traffic flow and whatnot. So I think it's very important as the city council to make sure that our residents are informed. And I also think it's very important to tell them the whys and the hows, because sometimes when people ask questions and you just basically say, this is how it is, and I'm not going to explain further, that's not a great answer. So, and they might still be mad at you even after you explain why, but they have the answer and hopefully they can understand. Now,
Jessica,
oh, go
can
ahead.
I interrupt you?
Yes, please.
Because I've just screwed up the whole night already.
Oh,
And
okay.
it was just my first thing. I had one assignment to do was that was just read the piece of paper. So we're going to start with
Oh, an opening statement.
Rob, and we're
Oh.
going to start with the 2-minute introductory.
Okay.
So just tell us about yourself, why you're running, and then we will let you start over with that answer. But we will start with you and we will start with that question.
Okay.
I apologize. Yeah. Okay, sorry. Rob, would you like to open and tell us a little bit about yourself?
You bet. My name's Rob Bennett. I've been a resident of West Jordan for 27 years, and I've raised my family here. My family has grown up and they are now in surrounding communities, and they come back and visit my house every Saturday and enjoy having a fun time with me and my wife. I've been in the tech industry for the past 35 years, and I've come to see how valuable tech is as long as it is our servant, not we servants to it. Technology is something incredibly important to allow the dissemination of information. And something that we as a city council are very, very needing to do is make sure that we enhance the ability of our public to be able to understand the things that are being done by the city, by the people that you are voting for. And I think that I have those skills as someone who has been involved in technology for all of these years, to be able to fuse it, to find ways to get that information out to you more effectively. I think you need to understand the decisions that are being made. As has already been pointed out, you may not always agree with them, but you need to feel like you've been listened to. You need to feel like you have a say in the matter, and that your neighborhood, as it's impacted, will have someone who's actually paying attention. And that's something that I plan on bringing to the city council.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Annette Harris. I'm actually a military kid, so I didn't grow up here in West Jordan, but I'm delighted to call it home now. My husband and I have been raising our 2 kids, and I hope that when they grow up, they'll want to come home and hang out with us on Saturdays. I have a background in public policy. I got my master's of public policy from the University of Utah, where I focused on municipal budgets. And if you want to work in municipal budgets, you need to come be on the city council. That's really where the work is. So I'm anxious to bring my professional experience and my personal just passion for serving the city that I love. I am really anxious to be part of a really well-run city. I was telling folks in the lobby earlier, a lot of people will ask me, what's the thing that made you mad enough that you wanted to run for city council? And I'm actually delighted to say there was nothing really that made me mad. It's an extremely well-run city. I remember opening the budget one day and being like, I'm gonna find something that's messed up in here, but it's actually great. And there's people up here that have been part of that excellent work on the city, and I'm just excited to be part of it. Thanks.
Good evening, I'm Chris McConaughey. I am almost a lifelong resident of West Jordan. My family moved here when I was 1 year old. And just growing up here in West Jordan, I saw that as you become an adult, you serve in the community. I have neighbors who have served on the city council and state office. One of my former neighbors was mayor. You just grow up and you help grow your community, help the community develop. And that's what I learned and what I've loved doing for 12 years that I've had the opportunity to serve on the city council. By profession, I work for a tech firm that focuses on financial reporting and analytics. So it's fun to be able to take that insight into finances and what we can do with the money that we have. How can we best spend that? And then bring that to the city. But it's not all just finances, it's also policy. What are the different things that we're doing that can impact our lives? Whether it's trying to improve the street lighting as we've been upgrading from incandescent to LED, to improving our standards for crosswalks, to taking care of some of the stormwater and the flooding that's been happening or that had happened in the past and figuring out how we can correct that. I love being able to get in the nuts and bolts of how we make life here in the city better. My wife and I have 5 little boys that are growing up here, attending the schools here. I went to West Jordan Elementary, West Jordan Middle, West Jordan High School. My kids will be graduating from Copper Hills once they finally get there. And I want to make sure that I'm able to help continue steering the community in a place that will be somewhere that our family wants to call home for generations to come. I appreciate the trust that I've had from folks in my prior terms of service and look forward to continuing to earn that vote. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Sergio Sotelo. I'm an electrician by trade and profession. That's what I do for a living. I originally moved to West Jordan in 2006, and back when I started I got married to my wife, and I wanted to we wanted to buy our own home. We couldn't afford nothing here. We had to move out to a neighboring city and was able to purchase there and doing great with our budgeting and our finances. We're finally able to move back to the city that we cherish and we love so much, and we wanted our family to grow here roughly about 2 years ago. I have a passion for education. I was recently elected to be the treasurer of the union that I'm part of, so I know what serving others and making sure that they continue to grow and strengthen together. That's part of the reasons that got me to run for office, because I want my whole community to grow and thrive together as a whole. And one of the things is that the division that currently exists due to the current political climate. I think those kind of things can be addressed more clearly at a municipal level, where we all know each other, we know our neighbors, we know our teachers, and we can bring everybody back to the table and discuss and figure out how we're going to continue to strengthen our community and grow it. Thank you for having me.
I'm Kayleen Whitelock, and I have been a long-term resident of West Jordan. I've been a foster mom. I have a nursing degree. I've served on various boards, spent many years working in our elementary schools, both paid and unpaid, mostly unpaid. Just enjoy serving. I enjoy our city. I care about West Jordan. I care about the future of West Jordan. I have been serving for the past almost 8 years, seven years and many months. I'm currently the chair of the city council, and that's an interesting position to be in. We recently decided to rotate that position. It used to be an elected thing, and now it's a rotation. So I am it because it was my turn. I am frugal. I care about our budget. When I first came to the city, we had some interesting things that we've worked through and improved our budget process, which I'm so happy to hear Annette say she really couldn't find anything to be too concerned about. As far as my vision for the city, I want a well-balanced city, understanding that if we are all residential, then our home property taxes skyrocket. You don't need to look far just to Harriman to see that if you're lacking commercial, you get to pay a lot in property taxes. So bringing in commercial and the right kind of commercial to our city is really important to me. I appreciate that it's been an honor serving, and I hope to be able to continue serving the city of West Jordan. Thanks for being here tonight.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jessica Wignall, as you know. I am a longtime resident of West Jordan and actually the West Side. I grew up in Kearns and just on the border of West Jordan. So the reason why I decided to run for city council is, and I apologize if I'm repeating myself to anybody here, but I ran for the legislature last year. I ran for HD 39 against Ken Ivory. And running for that office just put something inside of me that I knew I needed to represent my community. I came really close to Ken, so that made it even more of a, motivation to run for city council. That being said, my background is in compliance policy, both in banking and healthcare. So rules are my jam, and I really like structure. I really love this community, and I know I spoke to a few of you out in the lobby and said that my interactions with residents has been amazing. You guys love this community, and so do I. And I want to see it grow. And to Kayleen's point about commercial growth, I know some residents are afraid of it, but it is definitely a way to bring money into our community. But also, I want to keep the local character of West Jordan because that's one of the biggest things that West Jordan residents love about it. So I want to work for that, but then also make sure that our economy here in West Jordan stays healthy.
Perfect. Thanks, everybody. So we will go back to Jessica for question 1 about community trust and transparency. The question is, what would you do to increase transparency and rebuild trust in city decision-making, especially for residents who feel left out of the process?
All right. Over the last while, as I've lived here, there have been some major projects, and the one that I'm going to highlight is the 90th South expansion, because I know to most of you or all of you, it was very frustrating because it went on for a very long time. And probably most of us didn't know what the timeline was, and so it was a little bit frustrating. So what I'd like to do is create something that is similar to like a dashboard. So this on the city council website or the West Jordan website, where major projects have timelines listed so that residents are privy to that information to understand and see like where there are roadblocks, where there was a deadline, but that wasn't met and the reason why. And just to make sure that as a city council member that I'm approachable and that I'm responsive to any sort of interactions that I have with residents so that I can answer their questions and their concerns. Because like I said before, when you don't know the answer and you get, and you're frustrated, but you get a response, and even if it's not always the response that you want, having that understanding between you and an elected official can be helpful for you to feel a little bit more at ease and that your concerns are being addressed.
Well, I kind of am duplicating myself a little bit here in that my solution to every problem is not going to be technology. But my solution to influence a lot of the issues that are impacting our city is going to be technology related. We have the ability to have people sign up for newsletters electronically using your email address. You can get text messages. On the 90th South expansion, the UDOT organization that was taking care of that project had a text message update that you could sign up for so that you could find out how that process was going along. These are useful, but they're not user-friendly. We need to find better ways that we can get the information out to the community and allow people who are influenced by these decisions to understand how it is going to be influencing them. So I believe that we have other aspects that we can use besides technology. We can use town hall meetings. We can have phone calls where you can just call up out of nowhere your elected official and have that person care enough to take your phone call and talk to you about whatever's important to you. I think those issues are critical for us to be able to do. And if I am one of the ones who gets selected to be on the city council, I promise that my phone will always be open for you to call me.
One of my favorite things about running so far has been knocking on doors and getting out into the community. And that experience has instilled in me this idea that if elected, one way to improve, and frankly, on the excellent efforts on transparency that the council already has, like Rob was saying, it's not, I think a lack of transparency might be because of a lack of involvement more than anything the council is doing. Everything is public, the agendas are available, everything is recorded, the access is all there. But I sit in city council meetings and there's usually not a lot of us in there. People are busy. And so getting out in the community, knocking on doors, getting to know people has given me this idea that maybe some extra effort could be made to go to where people already are. I am usually out knocking doors on a Saturday morning, for example, and I see that the parks are packed. I mean, maybe not so much with all this rain we've been having, but I have met more folks when I'm out playing at the playground with my little kids on a Saturday morning than in any other way. And so I would like to bring to the council an energy of outreach. And I think that that's an important way we could bring more transparency because, folks don't have time to come to council meetings and that's okay, but we can make the effort as a council, I think, to get out to where people are.
It's interesting having a couple minutes to sit and think about this, especially from my perspective, having been on the council, watching how things have evolved. I feel like we've done a lot, but there's obviously still more that we can do. When I started on the council, we were getting written minutes after the meeting and the audio was being recorded. We've added streaming to the meeting so that you can watch it online. We've added the ability for people to participate in those public hearings from wherever they happen to be, which is fantastic. But like Annette mentioned, there's a lot of other things grabbing your attention. As was kind of alluded to, the city's got a pretty well structured budget and there aren't a lot of problems in the city. There's not a lot of screaming, there's not much fighting, there's a lot of collaboration and trying to build. And those things don't grab headlines. So people are looking at the things that are the problems, and that's not necessarily grabbing your attention here at the city. So the things that do help are trying to proactively reach out to folks and try and help them see what is going on in their name with their tax money. I feel like the city's done a fantastic job with the communications department and the information that's been put out there. If you've gone online and had curiosities about what it looks like to be inside a water tank or what it looks like to be paving, I love how we're helping people see what their tax dollars are doing and helping answer some of those questions. So transparency for me isn't just you can come and you can search and you can find a record of what happened in the past, but you can see what's actively going on. I'd like to continue those efforts to make things very clear and fun and relatable, because ultimately we live in West Jordan because this is where we want to call home. It's good to know and be able to see what's happening right there without actually having a problem that you're trying to go back for. So that's my thought.
Not to be a parrot and repeat everything that's been said, but I think we're all kind of going along the same lines. I myself have a passion for education. One of the reasons that I was taken from the field in my current industry and put into an office was exactly that, for educating, right? And I think that's part of what's happening. This event tonight, it's a perfect example. I had some voters that reached out to me and I invited them to come here, or asking me the question that how come the election hasn't been promoted? And again, to echo what's been said, is like, it's been promoted, where you've been, that everything is out there, it's put out there, but obviously not expressed that. And going back to my passion for education, I think it's just a matter of being able to get more creative in running campaigns to inform the residents, to inform the voters how they can be involved, how they can look into the budget, how they can look at the different projects that are happening. I've done a great job with that with my organization. I represent over 3,200 members there, and we were lacking that involvement from them. And by running and getting creative with campaigns and how to spark the enthusiasm to be involved and be part of it. I mentioned it when I introduced myself. I think a lot of the things that people have grown tired of is the division that currently exists within politics at the national or state level, and that has grown the disinterest of the folks. Changing that mentality, letting them know that they should be part of the process, because it is detrimental if they don't do that, So running a campaign to address those issues, I think, will bring back that trust and let them know that things are happening, things are occurring for the greater good of our community.
Well, I appreciate what's been said. What I will share with you are a few things that I have done and that I think help with transparency. When I joined this council, we didn't have a thing called a work meeting. Work meetings are really important. They're not a place for residents to come and give their input at that time, but it gives open dialogue that you can listen to in many forms now to know what's going on. We also are doing what we call town hall meetings. I've actually hosted 2 of them in my home because they involve my neighborhood. And we have done them in other neighborhoods when a development is going in, and I find them really beneficial. And whether 2 people show up or 20 people show up, for me, they're worthwhile, and I want to see this council continue to do them. In fact, if Mr. Anderson doesn't know, one will be coming up, so he's going to get to help us with another one. Because when a developer comes in and says they have a project nearby, I think it's important that we listen to what the residents that already live there have to say and what they care about. To me, that matters. I respond to emails, I respond to calls. I've been on 3 different calls today. And I love it when residents reach out, but for transparency, it really does require both the government to be open, but for the residents to come forward. And the residents coming forward, we heard from Ms. Harris, we don't have a lot of people that come forward. And maybe that's a good thing because we're not really having high topic things, you know, maybe people aren't concerned, but transparency matters to me. I'll continue doing what I have done and bring things that will make us more transparent. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you all. The next topic will be youth and civic engagement. Civic engagement starts early, but many young people and underrepresented communities don't feel connected to local government. West Jordan has a chance to change that. Question: what role should the city play in fostering civic engagement among youth and underrepresented groups, and how would you support that effort? And we will start with you, Annette.
Great. I think, again, the city is already doing an excellent job at this. In fact, at a recent city council meeting, I thought it was really heartwarming to see the youth council be sworn in. I mean, if I had had something like that when I was a teenager, I would have been so into that. And so I thought it was really exciting to see. So I would like that the city would continue that kind of effort of that's like direct outreach and involvement for youth. And what was the second part of the question?
What role?
Underrepresented groups.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. I think another important part of that is making sure that there's representation. So again, like we were saying, transparency can come from involvement. We do have quite a diverse population here in West Jordan. It's one of the things that makes us great, in my opinion. And so if we can do a little more work or try to crack the code on helping people feel more involved and more open to coming, then that would increase the representation of those groups that are already here and making our community great. So I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
There we go. One of the things that we've done, there's a couple different approaches. With the younger kids, one of the things I really enjoyed with my time on the council is being able to partner with the elementary schools for, speaking of one of the younger kids, there's one of mine jumping up and down at the back of the room right now. Hi, Ollie. Just got here. Being able to participate with the schools on the Dr. Seuss days and have a chance to go read to the kids. That's just fun, and it builds that connection with the kids that are there at the school. I've also enjoyed being able to participate with the SCC, school community councils. I know over in West Jordan Middle School, we've had conversations with the parents over there as they've discussed safe walking routes and what needs to change. And then with the kids themselves, we see a number of youth that'll come to council meeting because they have requirements. When scouting was still kind of at its peak. We had a lot of them that were coming and we had chances to give tours, talk to them about what's going on. Now we talk to the kids a little bit differently and I feel like we're doing more. We had a large group from Copper Hills High School that approached the city asking if they could rename New Bingham Highway to Copper Hills Boulevard or Copper Hills Parkway. Being able to help them actually make a change in something in the community has been, for me, it was a lot of fun, but hopefully for them, eye-opening too, to see how they can make a change right here. I appreciate that the council has created a youth council for kids and working with the schools to try and help the kids get more directly involved with the city government a little bit more regularly. Mr. Anderson's done a great job piloting that, and I'm looking forward to watching that grow and would love to see us continue to help grow that relationship, especially as we have more development happening out west with things like the Wills Park, expansion on Ron Wood Park, and some of these other amenities that are really going to impact them. So, thank you.
I believe that the city involvement and continue to educating and getting the youth involved, it's gonna have its fruits pay off in the long run. Going back on my passion for education, understanding truly how things work and go about. If you start them young, then eventually we're not gonna have the issue that we're commenting tonight with the involvement once they get into adulthood, right? They will continue to understand the processes and why they're there and the functionality of them. So definitely, by all means, it should continue to happen, and I would make sure, if elected to office, to champion that idea and promote that. As far as for the inclusion of others, there's great diversity in West Jordan. You can see it in everything, and when you go to the park, you see the families that are out there participating in different events, the different restaurants, cuisines that are available in our city. And everyone's voices are equal, should be equal, and will remain equal, and we need to make them not just make them feel part of it, but engage them in participating and be part of it. Because we want to promote, like I stated earlier, we want to promote the growth of our city and everybody living in it, or being a resident of it, and listen to everyone. I'm an open door kind of guy. You call me, you send me an email, and I gladly respond to you, sit down and talk to you, address your concerns, and look for answers and solutions to your questions that you may have.
Youth Council has been mentioned, and it's a great program. Something else that occurs, and I kind of like to take a little bit of credit for this because it started with a teacher at West Jordan High School that my child had. And it's a civics class, and I said, hey, why don't you assign them to come to city council? And guess what? That teacher's no longer there, but those students are still coming to city council. And I think it's such a great way for them to get involved. And that does bring our underserved minority youth to city council, because West Jordan is where most of them reside in our city. Something about our city that people might not know, but let me get my concordance right. The northeast corner of West Jordan has all the Title I schools. That means that's where our highest poverty level is. So having that school come is really cool. Another thing that we do to get the youth involved at the young age, because Sergio is right, getting them as young as possible, we have a lot of interaction with our fire department, which is all positive. They come, the fire department goes to the schools, preschools will come and do tours at our fire departments, and ensuring that our fire department has the funds to continue to do their continuing ed. They offer babysitting classes with CPR available. Those kind of things get the children involved and the youth involved in the city on a level so that they can see that government's not this scary thing over here, but it's just people like them, and they can come and talk to us. And whoever the chair is, they almost always acknowledge that the youth are with us. Thank you.
When I was in high school, I was in student government, and I would have been really excited, just like Annette, if somebody would have come to me and said, Kearns has a youth city council, I would have been like, yes, sign me up. So as far as engaging the youth, I think it would be really wise to promote the youth council within the schools. And and provide civic education partnerships, meaning we would collaborate with schools to integrate civic learning or even have voter registration drives with, because there are students that are in high school who turn 18 and can register to vote at that time. And they may not have the education. Maybe their parents aren't voters, but they do want to vote. So educating them in that way is really important. And even involving them in community projects. It is also, I think, would be great to partner with the youth with internships or mentorships as a city council member. They can, for them to interact with local leaders, businesses, and government departments. And then also inclusive outreach. I know that we've touched a lot on, on minority groups and students that they're not engaged as much. So I think extra efforts in that regard would be really helpful for us to make sure that they feel included. And also another, sorry, I'm drawing a blank here because I had one more point to try, but really I think it's important that we let the youth know, because these are, to Sergio's point about education, that voting is important, that being involved in your community is important. So to expand the knowledge of the Youth Council, I think is also important. Thank you.
It's interesting in the world news, Gen Z just overthrew the government in Madagascar. The younger generations are having more and more difficulty learning to live in our politicized world. And not all of us are comfortable with that. We have to be able to reach out more to our youth. All the categories, whether it's elementary school, junior high, high school, college, the normal citizens who have day-to-day jobs, all of them need to be reached out to. We can start earlier than what we're doing today. I think that we should provide opportunities for civic experience, not just going to a boring meeting. Unfortunately, a lot of those meetings are boring. I'm sorry, I can't say it any other way. Back when I was a kid, I used to watch Saturday morning cartoons. And I don't know how many of you will identify with this, and I promise I am not going to sing, but there were songs called Schoolhouse Rock. And there was someone who sang a song called I'm Just a Bill, and I'm going up on Capitol Hill. And there was another song that was called We the People, in order to form a more perfect union. These reached the kids who they were targeted to help understand civic issues. I think that as a combination between schools and city government and state government and federal government, we can reach out and help our children have more confidence in the political world that we're going to be leaving to them someday.
Perfect, thank you. The next
I'll
question.
just point
and
out I
we'll-
didn't sing.
The next question, and we'll start with you, Sergio. This next question will begin with you. The topic is emergency preparedness and resilience. With rising risks from drought, wildfire, and extreme weather, West Jordan must plan ahead to protect its residents and infrastructure. The question is, what steps would you take to improve the city's emergency preparedness and long-term resilience, especially for vulnerable populations?
Being able to well communicate and get a message across will be key to this, right? Understanding the importance of what's at stake here with everything you addressed in the questions, right? There's definitely issues that need to be addressed with the climate. We just recently saw it with all this rain that we've been getting in the last few days. I think they're called the overflows, or where the water goes off, so it doesn't restrict the storm drain system. There's a purpose behind that, right? Because we don't want to get to the drought sooner than expected. So running an effective campaign of communicating to the residents the importance of saving and preserving and properly utilizing all of the services available to them and making them self-conscious that, as Rob stated earlier, someday it's not just gonna be us, it's our children, our grandkids that are gonna need a suitable place to live on and prosper and enjoy the many things that we currently have access to and not have those being restricted.
Emergency preparedness is important to me. When I came to the city, we didn't have an employee that oversaw that. When I asked where the book was so I could look at it and see what my responsibility would be, they were like, we now have one. And we all, we've been told what our council responsibility is. I think being prepared is the best way. We have worked on purchasing some items for emergency preparedness. We are funding some classes for residents if you want to. They're on Thursdays. We can get you information on that to help you and your family be more prepared. We have, as someone mentioned before, we have allocated funds, and thank goodness on the last big rainstorms, nobody flooded in West Jordan that I'm aware of. We had a neighborhood where now sometimes we have an extra pool. You might not know that, but it's on 70th South and you can go there if there's a good rainstorm, and apparently you can canoe, kayak, swim. They do all kinds of things in that water. If you're my child, you can't, but many people do those activities in there. So ensuring that we continue to be smart with our budget so that we can have those funds to have the city be prepared and help our residents know how to be prepared. And I will continue to work on that. I think it's important. And we're also now working on, because what has become very big are wildfires, right? And when you first think, it depends on where you live in the city, you might think, well, what's that an issue? Well, it is an issue for us, wildfire interface. And part of our issue is a lot of where our wildfire would come from is owned by a corporation called Rio Tinto. So working with them will be important.
Okay, I recently learned that a community and emergency response team is a priority. I believe that, and there's also, it's called Be Ready Utah. So if you are interested in creating a community emergency response team, they are a great resource. I mean creating that team here in West Jordan. So to respond to emergencies, I believe that infrastructure resilience is really important. That means that we invest in backup power systems, flood mitigation, and seismic upgrades for critical facilities like our hospital here in West Jordan. Also, equity and planning is really important as well, that we ensure emergency plans include provisions for our seniors, our disabled, and any non-English speakers for multilingual alerts and accessible shelters. As far as the community emergency response team goes, I can provide you information if that's something that is important to you. And I know that we do have here in West Jordan an emergency manager, and he can be contacted as well. So anyway, if you are, like I said, if you're interested in finding out any information about creating a community emergency response team, let me know.
It seems like in our day-to-day lives, we have to choose between a lot of things. We have to choose between going out to eat or choose between paying a particular utility bill. When it comes to emergency preparedness, there are certain things that we can do as homeowners. We have insurance, property insurance that we can buy. But when taxes get to be so high that you can't make the choice between paying your property tax or paying your insurance tax or your insurance program, I think that we can do a better job as government to help people not have to make a choice between those two types of choices. The city is required to do a lot of things like make retention basins for water when flooding events take place, for providing programs that you as members of the community can go and learn more about how to be better prepared for emergencies. But we can also come together as community members and we can be there to help each other when something happens. I don't remember earlier this year, if you'll remember, there was a fire that took place. And a lot of teenagers ran into the building and were able to take the dogs and cats out of that fire and save their lives. That is the kind of community we want to raise here in West Jordan. We want to encourage us to look out for each other, to be there for each other, to bring out the good in each other. And that starts at the top and funnels its way down as we set the example.
I think that the role of the city council in emergency preparedness is to have a forward-thinking approach. And I'm really proud of West Jordan, like Kayleen said, and at the last city council meeting, it was reported that West Jordan didn't have any flooding and our mitigation measures worked as they should. And that's something to be really proud of. And that's because the city council focused on infrastructure and they funded things properly. And they made sure that we were prepared, emergency preparedness. So that's what I would strive to continue to do, what the council is already doing very well. I'm happy to live in a city that has that forward thinking.
So prior to my service on the city council, I spent a couple of years as a volunteer firefighter. And one of the things they taught us is that when most people think about emergency preparedness, they're thinking about preparing for a large disaster like an earthquake or something like that. But an emergency is really when the needs of the situation exceed your resources. And that can happen all the time. When I was just a few weeks into serving on the city council, actually, I guess it was a couple months into serving on the city council, we had a really bad rainstorm and our house started to flood. My wife and I were at the state fair when it started happening. We got home and we saw somebody from Public Works along with all of our neighbors bailing water out of our house. This is one of my favorite city employees. I absolutely love him to death. But the comment he made was, I'm really glad this flooding is happening to a council member's home because now maybe we can get something fixed. And that just resonated with me because the emergency was from a lack of focus on where we budget our money to prevent the disasters in the first place. We want to focus on fire prevention more than on firefighting, stormwater prevention and maintenance rather than having to react to flooding. We want to be able to focus on repairing the aging pipes and the aging infrastructure that we have rather than responding to these emergencies that happen. That being said, we do have a lot of resources within the city to help residents connect to the different things that they need. We have some programs for seniors as they're aging to help them retrofit their home if they find they're in need of a ramp so that we can avoid potential issues there. We have only 2 minutes to talk through this. I could go for a couple hours. I would keep doing what we're doing. I would keep focusing on connecting residents with the resources that we have and focusing on prevention. And I would also say thank you to Annette because I was on the council, so as Councilmember Whitelock, as we made many of those changes to fix some of the problems that you pointed out. So thank you.
All right. Next question. So economic development and local character is the topic. Economic growth should benefit everyone, not just developers. West Jordan's identity is shaped by its local businesses, cultural spaces, and community values. Question: how would you promote economic development while preserving the city's unique character and ensuring benefits reach all residents? And we'll start with you, Chris.
Boy, one of the things I really like about city council meetings is you get the packets a couple days in advance. You've got the whole weekend to think about your response, and it's not just right there off the cuff. Don't have that today, but with economic development, how do we promote it and how do we make sure everybody benefits? The most important thing is data. So I really enjoy doing ride-alongs with folks, not just with police and fire, but doing a ride-along with GIS. You get to see the kinds of information that we're able to gather. We're able to see what the you're able to look at what the needs are of the city in different places. You're able to look at particular streets and say, this is what traffic counts look like. This is what median income looks like. This is what education looks like. These would be good places for restaurants. They're on the coming home side of the street on a traffic that has, or on a street that has high visibility with high traffic counts. We need to be taking that data and working with the various developers at there's multiple conferences in Vegas, here in town as well, continuing to use that data to push for meeting the needs of the residents. The other thing that we need to do is be very careful about the type of economic incentives that we give. There have been times where we've worked incentives for some developers that the city gives up a little bit of property tax revenue now, but it benefits everybody long-term. There've been others that have been a little bit more one-sided and problematic in my perspective. And I'd like us to be very careful with that. But really it comes down to looking at the data. What do we need? What are people offering? Where does it need to go? And listening to residents to make sure that we're able to find a solution that really takes care of the residents first. And then if the developer can meet that need, great. If not, we'll find somebody else who can. Thanks.
Earlier, we asked different questions about inclusion, and I think the one thing that I can summarize this with is being mindful, right? There's different stages in life that we all grow through. Some of the candidates here I have addressed have, their kids have grown up and moved out. I myself said that I couldn't afford to live here. There's different stages in life, and I think we need to be mindful of those things, and we can definitely zone out and see and develop and promote that idea that you want your kids to stay close to you. Well, there's issues with the traffic coming in, so being mindful of all these different factors, and then to add to that is accountability, right? We need to hold developers accountable to what they do, just like Chris mentioned right now. You know, if they cannot built within what we have in mind, or the vision that we see for our great city, then another one can come along. But having that accountability, being mindful that there's different stages in life, and that we need to think about that when we're thinking about the growth of the city. It goes along with the residential and the commercial of where those things need to be, what we need. We have children, we have senior citizens, we have young families. All of those stuff matters. And like I tell residents when I'm talking out to them, I cannot change the greed that the developers might have, or that they promise to their investors, but we can hold them accountable to what our vision is of what we want our city to look like.
Economic development and local character, interesting question, how they come together. We've heard, Sergio mentioned having a broader look up, and I think he's right. We need to go to the 300-foot level and look down at the whole city, not little chunks, not because this guy wants to develop this here and this here. One of the great things that we have going for us in West Jordan, which is also one of the hard things we have going for us in West Jordan, is we have the most undeveloped land in the Salt Lake Valley. And you've probably all heard that we need homes. I'm not saying we don't need homes. We do, but in West Jordan, we need to be careful and make sure that we balance our commercial and our residential. So having that perspective, if we lose that, it will not be good for the local homeowner. We need to make sure that we stay strong. As Sergio mentioned, developers can be very, very forceful and sneaky. I spent 35 minutes with one today saying, no, your MDA says this. Just because you want to bring a high school, we would love a high school in West Jordan on the far west side. But you still got to put what's in the MDA with your commercial development. Keeping the local character, it's harder because there hasn't been a strong, like, our downtown, when I ask an older person, I'm like, why don't we have one? They say, okay, Lean, that's in Midvale, because we were one big area. And so we really have the opportunity to honor our past and move to the future and make sure that as we're developing, we push back on developers.
Years ago, I owned a home baking business, and it really made me realize like how small businesses are the heart of our community. They're what keeps our community growing. So supporting local businesses is something that's close to my heart. I think that if we streamline permitting and having the idea of local business or buy local philosophy will help us boost small business visibility. I also think if we have a creative economy with that, such things as maker spaces and cultural events that bring our community together. And if we partner with schools, trade programs, and tech hubs to prepare our residents for high demand jobs, and that way that we're keeping talent local here in West Jordan and reducing our commute burdens. I also do think that what comes with that is smart growth principles, and that, so as we're talking about developers, that we encourage development that enhances walkability, because we do want to preserve our open spaces, and we want and integrate housing with retail and transit. Not to turn West Jordan into a downtown, but that we have areas where we can walk about, and we can go to retail spaces and without having the traffic to deal with.
I think a lot of this has to do with vision. We haven't collectively come together with a vision. We've had several taglines that West Jordan has had since I was on the city council 20 years ago that have come and gone, but they haven't stayed. And for some reason, we don't have this thing bringing us together where we can all agree that this is the community that West Jordan needs to be. We need to have something collectively that we can encourage ourselves, our children, our grandchildren, other businesses, other people that are thinking of moving somewhere and they want to consider a good place to raise their families. Well, where are they going to come? We want them to come to West Jordan because of the reputation that West Jordan has. Having this kind of a vision that we can start with the city council and have that disseminate throughout the entire community, where we feel that we are united as a group to make business opportunities take place, to have new companies that are wanting to found a new place to have their opportunity to do whatever they've been thinking about for generations. There are so many different opportunities, which is why I chose to come to West Jordan to found my own company. I'm a small business owner. I have a small computer company that I go around fixing people's computers. This is the type of opportunity that we want to provide to people who want to come to West Jordan to find their place, to make their dreams happen.
I think the role of the city council in this is to react and collaborate with developers. So the developers are the landowners, right? So then they'll come to the city council with their plan. And something that I've observed as I've been watching the city council closely is that there's this opportunity to have a back and forth with the developers to make sure and to advocate for the culture of West Jordan to be maintained in whatever plans there are. And I think that that is the right way to do it. And I've been really impressed with how the city council has done that. So that's what I would say is the answer to the question. How do we, what can the city council do to maintain the culture of West Jordan, or, I can't exactly remember the terms, but we can react and advocate for the culture of West Jordan in the plans that are presented to the city council.
All right, thank you. We are going to shift gears now we have three additional questions that came from the audience, people here tonight. We are going to change the timing a little bit. We're going to go to 1 minute. If you need to go a second or two over, feel free. We have some time. We're a little bit ahead, but we'll do that. Question 1. What are your ideas for making housing more affordable for first-time buyers? And we'll start with you, Rob.
as we all live our lives, we go through different phases of life. We have different needs as we go through those different phases. Sometimes we're looking for a first home. Sometimes we can't afford a first home. We need to find someplace that we can rent or lease for a period of time. Then there are other times that we're looking to move up from our existing home because our family has grown. These are all housing types that need to be provided in West Jordan. How do we accomplish making those opportunities take place? We work with developers and property owners who are looking to develop their land and provide reasonable expectations that they can use in deciding how they want to develop that land. We can't just take people's property rights away from them and say, no, you cannot sell, you cannot do what you want with your property. We have to be balanced in the things that we do.
I'm just assuming I'm next. Okay. I love your phrasing of stages of life. And I was sort of smiling to myself because these are not new issues. So my grandmother ran for city council and I have her pamphlet, sitting on my desk. I have it blown up on my table out there. You can go look at it. And her what she ran on was ensuring there was housing for all stages of life. This was a long time ago when she was running on that in another small Utah town. And so I have nothing else to add, really. I just agree with everything that you said. West Jordan needs housing for all stages of life. And that's been something that's been important for a long time now.
Boy, 1 minute, that's an impossible ask here. So one of the things that we need to do is we need to do better about allowing for smaller homes like townhomes, twin homes, things like that. When I first came on the council, one of the concerns was maintaining the balance between single family homes and multifamily, including residential. And we tried to make sure that things were going in the right places. Our concern at the time was that we're getting all these developers asking to do apartments, but they're right next to existing established neighborhoods with third-acre lots, and it just didn't fit. We put some ordinances in place to try and fix that, but I think at the same time, we've prevented the development of much-needed apartments and townhomes in these smaller homes. I'd like to revisit that. I appreciate the current council reviewing whether or not townhomes should be included in there. But we still need to make sure that we're balanced and that density goes, that density of housing goes in a place that's master planned, close to transportation, and plenty buffered from existing development.
Again, I'm just gonna echo what I stated earlier with previous questions, right? The different stages of life, I brought it up. I myself, like I said, experienced that, had to go to a surrounding city in order to be able to afford that. And then the other part of and a different question, I mentioned to you guys accountability. With my, my trade skill, I know what it takes to build a top of the line quality product. I cannot change, like I stated earlier, the agreed mentality that developers may have in making promises to the investors. But I know what it takes to build a top quality product, and I know what not necessarily what the sell price is, but I know when they're racking up the price for that just for profitability. So again, holding developers accountable and making sure that we develop that and keep them accountable will definitely help us grow and maintain that.
Some of the ways that we can do this on the council is we can streamline our processes and ensure that a developer doesn't have to come back multiple times for what they call red line issues. We can keep our impact fee studies up to date so that we're ensuring that we're charging developers the right amount, not too much, not too little, but the right amount so that the new development is paying for the new development, but that they're not overpaying. We can allow developers, which we do now, to come to our work meetings where they can present their plan and get council feedback before they expend a lot of money for a development. All of that ends up helping the home be more affordable because the developer is paying less.
During this process of running for city council, I have actually met with developers and raised my concerns about affordable housing. I, being a single person, got to a point in my job where I could actually afford a home, and then COVID happened and houses skyrocketed. So then I was unable to afford a home. So like I said, during this process and speaking with developers, I'm like, what is your plan to make homes more affordable for people? And they to what Chris said about townhomes and condominiums, that was their answer, which isn't a bad answer at all. I would be grateful to own my own space and have my own yard, and whatnot. But I do think that developers coming to city council to talk about how they're going to make that affordable and is, a very important process in the whole affordable housing crisis that we're having right now.
Great. All right. Question 2 here. Property taxes have increased at unsustainable rates, and the median age of West Jordan residents has increased by 10 years since 2000, meaning a greater portion of residents are elderly and on fixed incomes. What can be done to slow or reduce the rate of increase in property taxes? Specifically, how would you influence the city's efficiency to support slowing the rate of increase? And we'll start with you, Kayleen.
Okay, thank you. Property tax is an interesting thing. And we don't usually, a lot of us don't really understand how the process works or how to read that bill. So I encourage you to closely scrutinize your property tax bill and then look at each area. As far as what the city can do for efficiencies, we've really been working on a lot of those, but there's a saying, penny wise and dollar foolish. If we don't take care of things today, they're going to cost more tomorrow. So I can appreciate that we need to be cognizant of our property tax, but not at the expense of delaying things to the point that homes are flooding and we are ending up spending more money. So it's a balancing act, I would say, for property tax, and efficiencies in the city are always welcome.
This is also a question that I've had a lot as I've been going out and canvassing, because people have seen an increase in property taxes. But, and I don't mean to mimic Kayleen's sentiments, but I do think, because with the transparency in the budget and and residents can understand where their property taxes are going, that is something that leads back to transparency. I don't have a utopian answer. As somebody, as far as what we could do with property taxes, or keeping them or lowering them, keeping them the same, I do think that the council is doing their due diligence to ensure that property taxes are not increasing exponentially. But we do need property taxes to maintain our city.
I don't have the answer, unfortunately, and I just have some ideas. When it comes to property tax, one of the reasons why we pay our share of property tax, as opposed to a different level that different communities around us are paying, has something to do with the number and type of businesses that are in that city. The more businesses there are, the less collectively we will be paying our property taxes, because sales tax will rise to increase and take up what some of those property taxes are. If we're serious about lowering property taxes, we need to be serious about bringing quality businesses and quality opportunities for people to come and spend their hard-earned money in West Jordan stores and restaurants. If we can do that, we can find a way to lower gradually all of that stuff.
Brian, I'll admit that I don't have a lot of expertise in this area, and I really appreciate the answers that I've heard so far. I feel like I'm nodding along like the audience, like, yeah, what is the answer to that question? I don't actually know myself, but I appreciate the question a lot, and it represents what I hear from voters when I'm out talking to them. I'd like to know more, and I would like to do good by the voters, to do whatever the council can do if I were elected, but I don't have an answer. It sounds pretty complicated. I'm grateful to everyone for their, maybe Chris has the answer. Let's hear.
I appreciate that vote of confidence. I would start though by recommending everyone kind of do what Councilmember Whitelock suggested and understand how the property tax rate structure works, because it's actually gone down significantly, the actual rate itself, to the point where the property tax that the city receives doesn't even cover the cost to fund our police department. We have to have additional funding to cover police, let alone fire, stormwater, streets, and everything else that we have out there. We're very heavily dependent on sales tax, so that's why we focus so heavily on economic development. That's why that's so important to us. The other thing that we need to be doing is leveraging new efficiencies where we can get additional tech. When I started on the city council, our stormwater department, who has miles and miles of infrastructure to maintain, had to borrow a camera truck from the sewer department when they were in their meetings on Tuesday. We need to be able to make sure every department has the equipment that they need. And I want to really talk about partnering with other organizations and other entities, how we've done that with the Wills Park, with the rec center, with so many other things, but there's that blasted timer. So talk to me after. I can ramble on this one for a bit.
I think some great ideas have been thrown out here, and obviously no one does have the true answer to that. But the reality of things is that the city, the municipality itself needs funding in order to function, right? Alan, all our public servants need to get paid. They got to feed their families, right? And we can only get our resources from that. I was in a city council meeting a month or two ago, where one of the council members said something that resonated so great with me. And I hopefully don't bring division along with this, but voting has an effect. When the federal government cuts the funding that comes to us, guess what's gonna happen? Your taxes are gonna have to increase. Again, we need to make sure our public servants are being paid and their bills and their lights stay on. So it matters to be involved in every level of the political spectrum, whether it's at the municipal, state, or federal level, and all of those votings have an effect economically. And we can see it. It's reflected.
Thank you. Last question, and it is not that one. Last question is, how will you determine the will of the residents before voting on various topics? And Jessica, can we start with you?
Sure. Well, again, throughout this process, I have realized more and more that you cannot please everybody. I could say yes to everything that everybody asked of me, and then I would still make somebody upset by doing that. So the most important thing to me is to make sure that our community feels heard and listened to, feels safe, and has the confidence in our city council to make decisions for them, and that we're making the decisions that will best benefit them. In doing that, what did you say? To address the will of the residents? Okay.
How will you ensure that
Oh.
when you vote, you represent the will of the people?
Okay, great, thank you. I think a big part of that is making sure that I'm educated on any bills that come to city council, that I'm asking residents the reason that they're wanting, that they're making the requests that they are, and letting them know that I understand how important it is because they did come to council. So just making sure that I'm a voice. Thank you.
At least that alarm is an extremely pleasant sound to listen to. It's not jarring or anything. When I was on the city council for a total of 30 days, I was appointed to the city council about 2 years ago because a member of our district moved out before the end of her term, and I got appointed to be the 30-day fill-in. There was a member of the public who wrote an email to me and had a bunch of issues that he was very concerned about. And he was also stating that in his email that if he didn't hear back from anybody, he was planning on suing the city. So I wrote back to him and I said, I thank you for your contribution to city government. You have a right, according to our Constitution, to petition your government for a redress of your grievances. And that is exactly what I'm going to help you do. I said that I will be contacting your city council representative and asking him to contact you. And I also forwarded his message to the mayor and to the city administrator so that his issues could be taken care of. I think that it is a partnership that we all have with it being on the city council and working with the staff.
I mean, how to determine the will of the residents before a vote, talk to them, listen to them, like has been mentioned before. I like the idea of kind of doing your homework as a council member before the vote, so reading up on it, asking people, like we were talking about earlier, going to where people are so you can talk with them and understand what they like. But to Jessica's point, I think it's obvious that you can't, you're going to vote one way or another and someone is not going to agree. So it's a difficult balance. I have a mentor who advised me that if elected, you should be governed by the 3 C's. And that's number 1, your conscience, number 2, the constituents, number 3, the Constitution, not necessarily in that order. But if you make sure that all of those are part of your decision making, then that's the best you can do. That's a pretty good approach.
First thing I do is continue the path that the city started with investing in communication with residents. We have, as I mentioned earlier, trying to share information about what projects are going on. We try to have email updates that go out to them. We have surveys that go out asking, what do you want to see in our parks? We have we've made all kinds of efforts to reach out to residents to hear what they want to see longer term. For smaller, more like neighborhood focused issues, I like being able to be there and listen. I've gone out and talked to a lot of people to hear their thoughts. But the reality is, I would make a plea for folks to speak up and say something. For a city of 120,000 residents, we see very few people reach out, unless it's something in their own backyard. I've only had probably 24 emails from people in this election, and that's frustrating. I would encourage people to reach out and speak up, because our job as your representative is to first listen. And yeah, thank you.
The best way for me to address a situation like this, or making sure to listen to the will of the people, is thoroughly understanding what's put before me, reading it, researching it, and making an asserted and educated decision or vote based on that. Secondly, I think everybody has mentioned that here and throughout the meeting, that getting the involvement of the community as a whole. We're the 3rd largest city, yet when you see the turnout for voting, it's minimal, right? What happened right now. So typically, a lot of the times people are going to complain, but they chose not to be part of the process. They chose not to voice their concerns or the issues that are affecting them. So, and I think that the city has done a great job with trying to get them involved, and continue to champion campaigns for outreach will be key in order to make sure that the will of the people is heard and it's what's legislated upon.
The will of the people is really important to me, and it's important to me to find out what they think. I call them my 5 Joes. They're residents that live in different areas, and they're different nationalities, different sexes, but when something comes before us and I feel like I really need some more input, I call them up. I answer every email and phone call that I get. And we recently had a petition to rename a circle in our community. And we got information that said 3 people wanted it, the other 2 didn't care. And that didn't make sense to me. So I drove to that circle and I knocked on doors. Turns out 2 people really did not want it changed. And so it's important that we push out information and we pull in information. And the city's improved in how we do that. And I think we'll just continue to do that. On a personal level, it's important to me to visit one-on-one.
Thank you. So we will now enter the final moments here, where each candidate will be given 1 minute to just make a closing statement. And Chris, if we can start with you.
All right. I'm going to start by backtracking just a little bit. That last comment I made, I expressed a little bit of frustration with the limited number of people that do reach out. But I want to say thank you to those of you who are here. I wish everybody would follow your example. Thank you so much for taking some time to be out here to get to know us a little bit, get to understand our thought processes, and why we'd like to represent you on the city council. I really appreciate you taking the time with us here this evening. That said, I love the opportunity that I've had to serve on the city council before and to be involved with the nuts and bolts of how things work here on the city council. You can see that we're not here to fight with each other, but there's rather a lot of collaboration. One person on the council is not going to get anything done. Rather, you have to get 3 others to support. And I really love the opportunity that I've had. Hope I have earned that trust over the 12 years that I've served to be able to continue to represent you. Thank you.
I want to thank everybody that decided to put whatever other interest was in their agenda and come out here and listen to all of us be here. Just want to echo on what Chris said. It's great that it's not confrontational, but rather to see the success, the strengthening, and the our community to continue to thrive. That's pretty much the idea or the foundation that I'm running for is that I want to see the West Jordan City continue to grow. I want to continue to be engaged with the people. Like I told you guys earlier today, I have a passion for education. I have a passion for communicating. I do that with my current organization and serving them. I do that with my neighbors. I do that with my kids' recreational soccer club. We volunteer, we go out, we do things, we help others. We pick each other up and we carry each other across the finish line. Thank you for being here.
I want to begin by thanking the Journal, the city, the League of Women's Voters, and everyone that helped put this on tonight, and especially you that bothered to come out on a rainy evening. Thank you. I have been honored to serve the city for 8 years. I would love the opportunity to serve you for 4 more. Our city is a great place to live. It's a great place to enjoy. We actually have plans for something that Jessica brought up for across the street, that will have a marketplace where people can come that are small businesses. And we are farther along in that process than we've ever been. We have UTA, UDOT, the school district, many partners and developers working on that. And it will be our city center, and it will be walkable, and it will be amazing. Kayleen Whitelock, asking humbly for your vote.
I too want to share the sentiment of thanking all of you for being here. It's so great to see people who understand how important local politics are, because it affects change more quickly, and you see the results of your actions faster versus on a federal level. So thank you again for being here. I do believe that our community deserves a council and leadership that listens. I believe that West Jordan deserves to be built as a resilient city. And I also believe that we have the opportunity for all residents, and I'm ready to serve. I'm ready to be your voice, and I would love to get your vote on November 4th. Thank you.
Most of us may be afraid to turn on our televisions when we go home because we don't know what's changed or what is likely to change. But I want you to rest assured that the American experiment is live and well in West Jordan, Utah. The fact that you are participating in the peaceful transition of power so that one group of people who leaves office, another group of people will join it. They will bring good ideas with them, they will bring your ideas with them, and they will contribute together to making a government that handles the responsibilities that we task as the people for that government to perform. I would ask for your vote as a member of the City Council, and at least 2 of these other people I would invite you to vote for too, because you get 3 votes this election. Thank you for your time tonight.
You took my line, Rob. That's what I was gonna say. No, I just echo the thanks that everyone has already shared. It's overwhelming, and I'm super grateful for the opportunity and for the kind conversations and some of the hard conversations that we've had. I just really appreciate the openness that I've found in the constituents of West Jordan. My motivation for running is to keep West Jordan a great place to raise a family, and that's what I intend to do and to champion if elected. So thanks very much.
Perfect, thank you. I think we're actually going to end a little bit early, which is awesome. I appreciate all of you for that, especially if it means we didn't have to listen to anybody sing. And I think, Chris, we can all agree that we too would love all flooding to happen at your house and not ours. Like, so if that's an option, we'll take it. No, in all seriousness, I would like to thank all of you. As the publisher, I get to participate in about 20 cities here on the Wasatch Front and beyond. And often city council is not a very thankful job. And you don't get a lot of credit that you probably are deserved as in most sense, essentially a volunteer politician at this level. We appreciate that. We appreciate that you're willing to step up, take that on for us. As you guys said, we would like to thank all those that showed up today and all those that will watch this and make an informed decision and vote later this month or the beginning of next. I want to take a second again to thank the League of Women and Voters, and I think they'll have a final comment here. But again, the City of West Jordan for letting us use the facility, and then Chamber West for helping sponsor the event. I think some of the candidates will be available to stay after in the forum. And then just a reminder, your participation matters, your vote matters, and we look forward to seeing who's going to represent the city and who will be making those tough decisions for us. So thanks again. Lori, back to you.
We have been recording it tonight, so if anyone was unable to attend, we'll have it on our website for the Salt Lake League of Women Voters. You can visit our booth to find out more about exactly where the website is and what it is that we do as a part of the league. We invite you all to join us. You do not have to be a woman to join the league. It's for everyone. And thank you again to all our candidates, and a special thank you to Brian Scott for moderating tonight's forum with clarity and care. And thank you all for coming.